Hey there! So, I wanted to tell you a little bit about my book and why I wrote it. So, it is titled Finding My Reasons to Breathe, Taming My Anxious Mind, Self-Awareness, Exploration, Vulnerability. So, basically, what this book is me figuring myself out. So, about a year ago, I hit an all-time low and caught myself really close to doing something terminal. It scared me, and it basically made me realize that I was in a place where if I didn't do something drastic in a good way, I was going to do something drastic in a very terminal way. I committed to myself. I feel like I'm quoting my book because these are the words I feel like I used, but they're so true. I committed to myself. I was going to give it one more really good shot and try to find some semblance of happiness, whatever that meant or whatever it looked like. I couldn't understand why people seem to be able to be happy, why they could find joy in the day-to-day when everything to me felt hopeless and meaningless. I'm not going to get emotional on this video. Anyway, so I'm having an anxious mind. I tend to be over analytical, meaning I overthink things a lot, and I think a lot. I always do. I'm constantly thinking about everything. And so I was like, well, if it's going to be a solution that works for me, it's going to be something rooted in reason and thinking. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. I mean, I just had to be real about that. So what I did is I looked to the past and I tried to remember a time when I felt the happiest. And I looked back at that time and I was like, what did I do? What was I doing during that time? What books was I reading? How was I taking care of myself? What were the things I was reading, listening to, partaking in? All of that. And I did a deep dive because I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember feeling happiness ever. I couldn't remember ever truly having a will to live. Even though I knew that I had, surely I had, or I wouldn't have made it this far, and I always am really good at putting on a really happy front on social media and for the public. But that's the farthest thing from the truth. This is embarrassing. Anyway, I promised I was going to be authentic here, and that's what I'm doing. So here we go. Anyway, after my daughter was born, I started really having issues with anxiety. I didn't quite know what it was. I didn't know what was happening to me. Fast forward, figured it out, was a battle, an uphill battle. What I didn't understand was the things that anxiety was actually doing to me and my quality of life. And in this book, I kind of take you on the journey with me at my last-ditch effort to, like I said, find my reason to breathe. Because this is hard. I hope I don't regret this. Anyway. Just a minute. I would catch myself trying to will myself to stop breathing. don't get me wrong, it wasn't because I was miserable or I didn't like my life. I know that sounds funny, but it wasn't any of that. I wouldn't say that I'm a particularly dark person either. It was just hard. Life was hard, and breathing was hard, and believing that anyone loved me was hard because I didn't love myself for whatever reason. And that's not important. What's important here is that I want everyone to know. If you struggle with any of this, if you know what it's like to constantly worry and ruminate and second guess all of those things, then you know what kind of torture that can be to live day to day. And I want to tell you that it's not easy, and it's not just going to go away, but there is hope, because at the end of this journey, it's not the end. I'm still in it, okay? I'm still practicing all the things that I decided I was going to practice and have put into practice for myself. But I would say about 10 months in, it took me about 10 months, I was able to finally wake up and feel hopeful for the future. I was able to find joy. It was like I surprised myself is what happened. I had no idea that I wanted to write a book. No idea at all. It was the farthest thing from my mind when I started this. I simply had decided I was going to get back into my yoga routine. I was going to eat healthy. I was going to meditate and journal every day. That was it. I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know if it was going to turn into anything. I just promised myself I was going to show up regardless of what happened. Even if I came up here to my yoga space and I sat down and did nothing but cry for 5 minutes and then go back downstairs, I showed up, and that's what mattered. And I did that. And some days that's all I would do. I would come up here, I would get started, I feel really great about it, and then next thing you know, I'm crying in down dog. I don't know, if you're not a yoga person, you don't understand that, but basically you're kind of upside down and you're trying to cry. It's not easy or enjoyable, to say the least. But anyway, and then, next thing you know, I've collapsed onto the mat and I'm sobbing and whatever until I go downstairs. But I showed up. By God, I showed up. And at the end of it all, well, not the end. I keep saying the end. It's not the end, but at some point, I had this idea. I was like, what if I took these journal entries and I started to write a book? Not for anyone else. I had no plans of sharing this book with anyone, but for me, just to kind of organize my thoughts, because if you can't tell by watching this video, I'm a little bit all over the place. And for some reason, the time it takes to get from my brain to my mouth, it just kind of messes me up. But if I'm writing, things organize a little better. You can decide that if you decide to read my book. Anyway, so that's what this book is. It starts out with one of my journal entries from my Save Myself crusade, and then I reflect back and think of an example of something that actually happened in my life that might have something to do with what I was feeling that day. And so I take you into that experience with me. We go through the journal entry, and then and then I'm hopefully letting you get a peek into my mind and my thought processes and how I work through things. I hope it's helpful to someone. I don't know. It was helpful to me. This book is meant to see if you relate, basically. You know, you can use some of the techniques I use if they help you, or just to know you're not alone. I've had several people reach out and say, hey, I feel like I'm reading my own thoughts, and that was really special to me. But my second book I plan to write in this vein. I already have a novel that's marinating. It's totally different. It's fiction based on true events, but fiction. Anyway, the second Reasons to Breathe book is going to be, hopefully, I think I'm going to title it Finding Your Reasons to Breathe. And I hope to actually talk about techniques and things you can do to overcome anxiety and self-doubt and cultivate self-love and live a more fulfilling and happy life. So that's where we are. If you can relate to any of this and it sounds even the slightest bit interesting, if you want to shoot me an email or a message wherever you happen to find this video and let me know, what kind of things do you struggle with? What do you think about? Because I've never really reached out and talked to people about my struggles, and I just want to make sure I kind of touch on all aspects of things that might be relevant in my next book. So anyway, hope you got something from this. Hope I don't regret posting it. So see you later.